And one. All right, we are live. Today's topic is going to be about avoiding toxic people. But the difference is we're not going to be stepping into avoiding them, which people tend to think is the answer. We're going to be talking about how do we address it so we can avoid the problems of toxic people. So it's going to be a little bit of a spin. We have this thing like we're so fragile and like our relationships are so fragile that we can't have communication, that we can't address problems. Maybe that could be the case some of the time, but I'm not talking about the normal situation. I'm not talking about exceptions. I'm talking about the normal situation, because most relationships, even the ones with people, they got to go off on the handle first. We can start setting boundaries and we can start saying, no, sorry, you're not going to treat me like that. You want to have a connection with me? Yeah, okay. So this is how we're going to do it. But we can do it in kinder ways than exactly those words, although those words might be kind enough. But you might be working with people that are extremely toxic. And I'm going to put that in different terms. They're extremely hurt. They're extremely defensive. They're extremely afraid. And sometimes when we think of someone as toxic, we can't put into mind that stuff. But even an animal, if you have something jammed up in their foot where everything hurts and every day is miserable, then they're not going to respond to you the same way if they didn't have that there. You go to help them and they're scared and they're in pain, they might bite you. You go to help them and that pain isn't there, they're fine, they're connecting, they're loving you, they're licking your hand and your feet. They're a different animal. The same thing works with people. They're a different person and a different personality. Just to give you a quick example, I'm wearing these because I've been having trouble with my eyes the last few days. Light is hurting, light from the computer, light from outside, light from the TV. And so I've actually been wearing these and these together, but I'm not going to do that here because it looks ridiculous, but it helps. And so I'm doing that until I can get to the doctor. But because it's hurting inside my head, it's making me feel nauseous. It's making everything painful. Things that I look at, so even thinking is a little bit more difficult. So when people are saying stuff to me, I have to be careful that I'm not like, rah! Because that's what it feels like here. And so I have to be like, stay grounded. Everything's fine. You're fine. You're going to figure this out. The pain's going to get better. You're doing everything you need to make it okay. That keeps me in a good space. So when I'm talking to somebody, I can be, oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure. That question or that thought, or I get that you're not getting me. That's not bothering me. So I breathe, even if I feel frustrated. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Because you're dealing with a lot of people who don't know how to do that. They don't have those skills. And maybe you might be a person who doesn't yet have those skills. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're stupid or not good enough or not perfect or any of the things you might say about yourself. And the other person is not the things you say about them either. That's the interesting thing. We put each other in these boxes. We call everybody narcissists. We call everybody, toxic. And then we're just not addressing the problem. We just run away from it. But what about if we can avoid the toxic people by setting boundaries, and then we're having them avoid it too? What about if that? Think about that. Comment and let me know what your thoughts are. And what I'd like for you to do, which I am also going to do, is I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this to my other pages. So that way other people who don't know this information, who need this information, who want this information, who can really develop their lives and shift out of toxic situations, share this information. They deserve it. And you don't have to share it with them like, hey, you need this. You can share it with them like, oh my gosh, this was really good. And I think everybody needs to know this, right? Share it like that. So we're not presenting out there that people are broken, right? Or that there's something wrong with them. Because there's nothing wrong with them as far as a human being, but there might be something as far as their behavior and their way of thinking That's not got them on the best path. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with them. It just means that there's something that gets to be worked on. And it also is important that they get to realize they don't have to do it alone. A lot of times people think they have to be alone and all this stuff. They don't. They don't have to be alone at all. Instead, they can see what's possible. Instead, they can start practicing what I'm sharing with you guys here today, and they can start to see results. Instead, they could reach out, right? That's what I'm here for. And they could say, I don't get it. I hear what you're saying, but honestly, I think it's full of crap, and I don't think it'll work because the people around me, they're just too much. I have worked with the most difficult people, and they learn how to communicate with each other. They are able to understand what the other person is saying because we create a way to do that with safety. We create a way to do that so it's not at each other. Instead, they're talking to me and I'm helping them to interpret, hey, you think they're saying that? Well, this is actually what I hear. So what has you interpret it that way? Oh, well, because when they say this and they do that, well, they always mean this. Oh, gotcha. So when you say that and you do that, do you always mean that? No, but I guess when I talk to them, maybe because they've always been like this. When we are working with someone, we have these ideas about them. Some of them we understand that we have that idea here on the conscious level. A big part of it, we have it on a subconscious level. This person always does that, so I'm always going to reply like this. And then they're like, well, they always do that, and so I'm going to reply like this. And then you guys are always just bucking against your beliefs. Neither has room to be or breathe or talk or hear or anything. It just gets so frustrating. And you can have clients like this, you can have kids like this, you can have adult parents like this. But when you start to make changes, and you do it in a kind and loving and respectful way, and that is possible, then that person is heard differently. They're received differently. They feel care, they feel love, and they respond differently. Okay. Now, we often think that that person is that way and they can never change. There are some people like that. However, if that person gets that support and gets that help and gets that changing in their thinking, and gets that changing and healing in their emotions that are in a wounded place, to have them hear from wounded filters, that person will change. You can teach an old dog new tricks. You can teach a dog tricks till the day it dies. Well, before it's dead. Sorry. Gotta be clear on that. The same thing works for the human mind. Now, of course, they have to want to. We can't make them. But there's ways that we can ask somebody to do something that motivates them. For example, I could say to you, oh my gosh, you know how you always do this? I've got this program. It's going to help you fix that. Who's going to want to do that? Now, maybe if you have a friend who's kind of blunt and direct, they might be like, shoot, tell me. But most people are going to be like, who the F are you to come here and try to tell me I need to change? What, do you think you're so smart? Do you think you're so much better than me? Do you think just because you have new information now, or because you're all grown up, or because you're, whatever they might respond, because they're hearing you say they're broken. So of course they're going to respond from that place. But if instead you're saying something like, I really was learning about how I'm kind of being toxic with people because I'm not sure how to say no. When I try to address things, I really only address it when I'm totally pissed or frustrated, or I'm coming from this negative place. I want to learn differently. I'm wondering if you don't mind working with me on that, because there's so much stuff I can't see that I know that you can help me see. Do you mind doing that with me? Did you make them wrong in any way? No. Did you talk about them at all? No. They're going to be helping you, and in the process of helping you, it's also going to help them because they want to be in relationship with you. So that is the way that we can address things. Now, if there's something you're like, well, I don't have any issues at all, which I've only met a couple people who could say that and I could be like, yeah, this is totally just them. Because oftentimes if somebody is totally toxic, we respond to them in a way that's also rather toxic or rejecting or frustrated, or which is understandable. You would feel that way. So if we switch that, then often we can have them feel different ways and think different ways and be different ways as we work with them and address them in a brand new way they're not used to. Right. And that's why I say, even if you've got it together and even if you've done every single thing, you haven't done it like this and they haven't allowed you to help, then you haven't done it like that. And so when we present it to somebody that says, I've got something that's going to help us communicate together, and I really want to help our relationship improve, can you attend it with me? You don't even have to say anything at first if you don't want to. Just be there with me, learning the tools with me, and you'll see if you like it or not, right? Then the person is not judged. They are heard. They're like, wow, they really care about me. They really care about the relationship. They don't even want to put me on the hot seat at all. Wow, they're being so different. Before they would say, I'm broken, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm all this stuff. Even if I agree with them, I'm still going to fight it because I don't want somebody saying these terrible things about me. I have to defend myself, right? Or let's say it's on the other side. Yeah, I already know you think I'm a terrible person, and I already know you just want to do this to fix me. But if I'm talking to this person and I say to this person, I've not ever really let you talk. I've been controlling in the way I share things with you. I didn't mean it that way, but I get that I'm coming across that way. And I really want to do it different. We only have a short time here in this life. I really want to do it different. I want you to see how much I love you and care about you. Do you mind trying this out with me? Just a few times. And then, we'll go from there. We'll see if this is helping and if it's working. And let's just try it out together. When you hear that, what does that sound like to you? What does that feel like to you? If somebody said that to you, how would you respond? How would you feel about them? Connect to that. Allow yourself to see that, feel that, experience that, because that's what you would then be creating for them. So there may be this experience of, well, okay, how do I know if somebody's toxic? How do I know if I'm toxic? Is it always about you and your stuff? Is it always about them and their stuff? Is there this constant negativity, constant stress? Is there lots of blame, lots of guilt, lots of controlling? You see that there's like conflict and drama and making a big deal out of little things. What might be some other things? People that are, demanding, very self-centered. You need a lot of energy to be around this person. Afterwards, you feel super drained. That's where you would decide, okay, so this is a toxic person. Now, I'd like to shift that word. This is a person who's defensive because they've been hurt. They're defensive because they think people want to hurt them. They think you want to hurt them, guys. And you might go, what? I've never hurt them before. If I have a belief that the world is out to get me, then even my own children, as they grow and behave a certain way, then I could believe that they're trying to hurt me. Even their natural behaviors of being a child trying to get away with things. That's the way my mother was with me. That's the way so many of my clients are dealing with their spouse or dealing with their parent, and sometimes with their children. Their children think that they're out to hurt them. It's just a thought process that the mind starts to create. That's all it is. It doesn't mean that they're broken. It doesn't mean that you're broken. It doesn't mean any of these beliefs, any of these stories are true. But in their belief or in your belief, that's the filter of truth. Many of you know my story. I believed, because of the way I was raised by an abusive mother and then an abusive father, I thought I was worthless. I thought I always had to prove myself. I thought I always had to be good enough. And I'll tell you, there's still things that show up in my life now I have to work on regarding that. But over my lifetime, I'm 46 now, Over my lifetime, as soon as I hit foster care at 15, I've been doing intensive personal development work, whether it was therapy, whether it was psychology courses, whether it was personal development trainings, intensives, whether it's been coaching programs, whether it's been transformational programs, whether it's been, you name it. I've been doing it to grow and develop and to thrive into who you see now. I didn't just get here. I had to have help all along the way. And so I want you to allow yourself, and I hope you say to yourself, I want to allow myself. So this isn't an I want you because I want you to. This is an I want you to because I know it's so good for you, because I had to do it too. So if you speak into that, being able to see one, we've already talked about it, identifying the behavior, and allow yourself to take a look at that word toxic without judgment. Take a look at it in a new perspective, but you also want to have support. You don't want to stick around that behavior because it is toxic to your body, your mind, your spirit, your being. It's also toxic to the person being toxic. So if you are being a toxic, negative person to yourself, it's damaging your body. It's damaging your cells. It's damaging your energy. It's damaging your spiritual being. Same thing for that other person over there. And sometimes we might be like, well, I'm not that bad. That's okay. Work on the stuff that still can be worked on. We can always move ourselves to the next level. I am shifting out of negative thinking, right? But there's still things I need to do to feel worthy. There's still practices I get to create. There's still coaching that I'm doing. I'm going to have coaching till the day I die because I see the value in it. I'm an entrepreneur. Ooh, excuse me. Confirmation. We get these things. We get to have our coaches, our mentors, our supports, our team. So identifying that toxic behavior, and then trust your instincts. Trust where you see. If you're like, oh, well, I'm not that bad. Trust your instincts to say, well, there's some things that need to get worked on. And if you want to create a relationship with a person who's toxic, or you already have a relationship with a person who's toxic, there's work that can be done to help improve it. Now, of course, that's not 100% of the time, because if the other person doesn't want to, then obviously we can't do anything on their part. But there's a lot that you can do in changing you and setting boundaries for you and helping yourself feel strong and powerful, and how you work with that person in a loving, kind, respectful way. But still, I'm sorry. We agreed that when we're in time together and we're in relationship together, the tone that's coming up right there, we agreed that's not okay. So let's start again. That's retraining their mind. That's retraining their understanding. It's also retraining them that you're not going to attack them, that you're understanding something's going on for them they need to figure out. So as you're being a different person and respectful to them, they can do it to themselves as well. It's all in our approach. If I approach somebody in a way that's not helpful, that's the result I'm going to get. If I approach somebody in a much more respectful, kind way, again, it's not 100% of the time, but if you do it and you do it several times and you start to see a change, then that person can change. If you do it and you do it several times and you see that person isn't changing, but also get feedback, because you might be thinking, well, I'm doing this. And then when you hear, I'm doing this, you're like, whoa, I didn't realize I was doing it like that. Right? Review again. Identify the behaviors, both in yourself and the other person. Trust your instincts. Trust what you're feeling. Trust what you're hearing. Trust what you're seeing. And trust that you can make changes. Your mind and your emotions and their emotions aren't so fragile. You guys can talk and communicate. If that person knows you love them and you're talking to them and you're creating change because you love them, that strengthens them. That strengthens you. You're not so fragile. You're amazing. And they get to know they're amazing too. Not that it's your job, it's their job, but you can present things to them in such a way that it can make a change. It can make a difference. Okay? The other we talked about is setting boundaries, number 3. Now, there's a lot more than these 6 that I've mentioned, because I've talked about quite a bit. These 6 I'm really emphasizing because they are the most important. as you're starting, right? Number 4, you're going to surround yourself with positive people. And that would be that mentoring, that training, that retraining yourself. You can listen to recordings. You can listen to books on tape. You can go to groups, and there's lots of them. You can go to different meetups. You can go to different personal developments. You can just be around really healthy people that support you and you support them. Don't just be a taker. You also want to be a giver. If you're not sure how to do this stuff, reach out, okay? The other is you're going to be practicing positive self-care. Now, many of these things I just shared with you is self-care. So you're like, oh, cool, I'm already getting it done. But I want you to be intentional about these steps. Be intentional about how are you caring for yourself? How are you approaching that person so you know you're being 100% respectful? Not from your filter, but from the filter of out there, right? I might think, well, I just said you need to do this. It's important that you do this. Sounds respectful enough in my filter. But when you're sharing it with me, then I'm able to go, do you hear your tone? That's not respectful. Do you notice when you say that, you kind of puff up? If you're doing that toward a person, that's actually being dominant. That's not really being respectful. That's telling them they're going to do what you want them to do. That's going to have anybody back up and be like, whoa, I don't think so. So unintentionally, our body language speaks more than our words. Our tone speaks more than our words. It's just how it works, right? It's science. Okay, and then lastly, and I can't say this enough, which is why I've said it several times, get that support. I had a client last night, and I was saying to him, oh, you've got yourself in such a hard place right now. Do not do this again. You have help here. You do not have to have yourself feel so stuck and so lost for so long. That's so much pain for no reason. And he promised, moving forward, when I see a problem that I feel I'm stuck, I'm going to call. And even if I'm not sure if I'm stuck and I just want to, kind of work it through, I'm going to call. Because all that time of alone and pain and more problems stacking, I can see where there could have been resolution and support, even if it didn't change anything, although I can guarantee it would have. And so it's like, oh man, now there's going to be a lot more cleanup to this. And there was a lot more pain. It did not have to happen. So seek that connection, seek that support. No, you do not have to do it alone, and stop it. Stop thinking you have to do it alone. Oh, I did not take that advice when I was younger. I did seek a lot of support. I did. But there was a lot of time. I was in my own head with my own thoughts, ashamed and embarrassed to share them. And sometimes not even knowing how to talk about them, which is why I'm so great with my clients, because they're like, I don't even know the words. And then we start talking about it and they're like, yeah, oh my gosh, you put words to what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. This is so great. Find somebody who can do that for you. Find somebody who can help you get your thoughts out. Find somebody who can help you see what is the purpose you want to create in your life. You might have an idea, but it's so general, you don't have anything to hold on to. Get that for yourself. And as you do, you're removing any toxic stuff out of your life. And we don't have to call it toxic for it to not be good for you. You're removing that stuff out of your life that's not good for you. You're instead bringing in connection, bringing in information, bringing in boundaries, bringing in how to work with other people. And so then things are growing, your relationships are growing, your business is growing, your clients are happier and they're getting your results. The kids are in your life, your parents, and every direction, because as you're working on you, you are being different out into the world, and you deserve that. So if this sounds like something that works for you and you'd like to learn more about it, reach out to me. Do not feel like you have to be alone. And if you're like, you know what, I have somebody else in mind, call them. Do not wait. You deserve it. And also, if this has rung true for you and you'd like to get these points, comment below and just say, I would like to get this. This is what I was learning from today, and I'd like to get these 6 points. Because tomorrow an infographic is going to go out and we'll make sure you get it. I love you guys. Do not have yourself stay stuck. Share this information with other people, and not in a way that says, hey, you're broken, here you go, let this fix you. Share it in a way that was like, oh my gosh, this really spoke to me. I think it'll speak to you too. Or whatever the truth is, right? That way we're not just like being shallow and superficial and putting on other people our stuff without meaning to. Right? Speak from your heart. Speak from connected. Speak from relationship. You can do it. All right, you guys, bring it in. Big squishy hugs. Get a hug today. On top of this one. Try to get 10 hugs today. Hugs are so very healing. They really are. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments. I'll be sure to address them next week, Wednesday. I'm here every Wednesday. It is called Mindset Reset Wednesday with Coach Tammy Starr. So it's resetting your mind. It's getting yourself back on track. Confirmation. All right, you guys, you take care of you. Know that you're loved. Ciao for now.